I never thought I'd be the type to even talk about this kind of thing, but here I am. I guess I just need to let it out somewhere. I'm 55. I've been married to my husband for almost 30 years now. We've raised kids, paid off a house, gone through ups and downs, and at this point in life, we're just settled. Not unhappy, but not on fire either. You get to a place where everything becomes routine, dinners at the same time, familiar arguments, watching the same TV shows together out of habit more than interest. It's not bad, it's just quiet. I don't feel unattractive, but I also don't feel particularly seen most days. I take care of myself. I still wear fitted jeans, dresses, stockings, still do my makeup when we go out, still try to look good, more for myself than anyone else. My husband notices sometimes not. That's just how long-term marriage can be, I guess. Anyway, this all started a few months ago when my husband started working on a new project at his firm. He's in construction management and one of the newer guys on his team, a younger man named Ryan, started coming up in conversation. I didn't think anything of it at first. But then one Saturday afternoon, there was some team lunch nearby, and they invited spouses. I tagged along. That's when I met Ryan properly. He was mid-30s, tall, clean-cut, athletic build, smart. He had that calm confidence about him that you just notice. He was polite, friendly, shook my hand a little longer than necessary, and looked me in the eyes with a smile that had just a hint of something extra. Nothing inappropriate, but something. And honestly, I felt it, that tiny ripple in the air. It had been a while. At first, I brushed it off. I thought, you're imagining this. You're 55. He's just being nice. But that little interaction stuck in my head longer than it should have. So about 3 weeks after that last office lunch, we decided to host a small barbecue at our place. Nothing fancy, just a few coworkers from my husband's team, some burgers, drinks, music in the background. I offered to help organize it because, honestly, I needed a distraction. But deep down, I also knew Ryan would be there. And yeah, I wanted to look good. It wasn't about doing anything wrong. It was just that I hadn't felt like this in a long time. That nervous, stupid flutter in your stomach thing. That quiet thrill of knowing someone might be watching you when you walk into a room. So yeah, I tried. I wore a fitted skirt, dark gray, just above the knee. Nothing flashy, but it hugged the right places. Paired it with a tucked-in black blouse, a delicate silver necklace, and sheer black stockings. The good ones, the kind that feel smooth to the touch and give that faint shimmer in the light. Underneath, heels, modest height, but sleek. I curled my hair, took my time with makeup, and when I looked in the mirror before heading outside, I actually liked what I saw. It had been a while since I felt that way. The guests started arriving around 4. Everyone was in good spirits, drinks flowing, music going. My husband was at the grill, doing his usual I'm in charge of the meat routine, beer in hand. I was walking around making sure everyone had what they needed, playing hostess, but always keeping half an eye open. Ryan arrived a little late. He walked into the backyard with a 6-pack in hand and that relaxed confidence he always carried. He greeted my husband first, then the rest of the group. When he made his way over to me, his smile changed just slightly, like there was something only the two of us understood. He looked me up and down, not in a disrespectful way, but in that quiet, scanning way that said he noticed every detail. His eyes paused briefly at my legs, the stockings, then came back up to meet mine. "You look great," he said, low enough that no one else heard. I just smiled and said thank you like it was nothing, but I felt my skin heat up instantly, like he touched me without touching me. As the afternoon went on, I played it cool. I chatted with other guests, kept myself moving, but Ryan had a way of finding me in the crowd. He wasn't obvious. He didn't hover. But every time I turned around, there he was, offering to help carry plates, opening a bottle for me, leaning in just slightly closer than necessary when we talked. The kind of closeness that feels intentional but still deniable. At one point, we ended up sitting on the bench at the edge of the deck, while my husband and a few guys were around the grill, arguing about the game last weekend. I had my legs crossed, leaning slightly to the side, sipping from a glass of white wine. Ryan sat close. Not too close, but enough that I could feel the warmth from his knee brushing against mine now and then. He said something about how those heels should be illegal, with this grin that was just playful enough to hide what he really meant. I laughed, tried to play it off, but he wasn't backing. Then it happened. I stood up to go refill a bowl of chips. I brushed past him, and as I did, his hand came out, gentle, subtle, and landed right on my waist. Not long, not aggressive, just enough to feel it, like he was guiding me past, like it was casual. But it wasn't casual. That hand stayed there a half-second longer than it should have. A half-second that said a lot. And I didn't move. I didn't react. I didn't stop him. I just let it happen. The entire time, my husband was 10 feet away, laughing about something with the other guys, completely unaware. I walked into the kitchen, heart pounding, pretending to fix the snacks, but really I just needed a minute. My hands were actually shaking. Not because I was scared, but because I hadn't been touched like that in years. Not in public. Not secretly. Not in a way that made my whole body respond like it had been waiting for it. When I came back outside, Ryan was standing farther off now, chatting with one of the other wives, beer in hand, like nothing had happened. But when our eyes met across the yard, I knew he knew. I sat down again on the bench near the deck, glass of champagne in hand. My heels were crossed at the ankle, and I leaned back slightly, letting my body just relax into the wooden slats. I could hear my husband still standing over by the grill, talking loudly with 2 of the guys from work. Something about a ridiculous work-sit incident. He was laughing, animated, completely in his element. I smiled at the sound, not fake, just faint, detached. And then Ryan sat beside me again. I didn't look at him right away, but I felt it, his presence, the shift in energy, that tiny awareness that fills your whole body before anyone even speaks. And then he leaned a little closer and said, low enough that I had to really listen, "You're incredible." Just that. No hey, no explanation, no excuse. I felt my stomach clench immediately, and my throat actually tightened like I couldn't swallow. I took a tiny sip of the champagne just to cover the silence. But the way he said it wasn't small talk. It wasn't casual. It landed. I glanced at him, met his eyes for a split second, and then looked forward again. That's when his hand found my thigh. No warning. No build-up. Just a slow, deliberate move, his hand resting on my upper leg, right over the fabric of my black stockings. I froze, not out of fear, but because my whole body responded at once. It was pressure, warmth, contact. He didn't grip tight. He wasn't testing anything, but he wasn't pulling away either. His fingers slowly squeezed just enough for me to feel it. feel him. Feel the tension that had been building between us for weeks finally start to break through. I exhaled, quiet, steady, still looking forward, my heart pounding now. His hand stayed there. Then slowly he moved it. Not abruptly. Just a subtle slide upward, just a few inches. The kind of motion that would mean nothing if anyone were watching, but everything to me. He reached the point where my stocking ended and the lace detail began. That delicate, stretchy band that held everything in place, he found it. I felt his fingertips touch the lace and hover there. His thumb traced the edge slightly. And right there, right in that tiny, hidden space between public and private, something inside me gave in completely. I didn't shift away. I didn't say a word. I didn't breathe for a moment because all I could think was I want him. Now, here, alone. And I couldn't have him. Not then. Not there. My husband was 10 feet away, still laughing about some work joke, still flipping skewers like nothing in the world was happening. But something was happening. Inside me, everything was lit up. I wanted to leave the bench, go upstairs, close a door, block out the world. I wanted Ryan to follow, to do exactly what we both knew we couldn't do. But we stayed there. And the craziest part, this was all happening maybe 10 meters away from my husband. I mean, I could see him. I was looking right at him, standing by the barbecue, drink in hand, talking and smiling, completely unaware. I watched his mouth move as he spoke, watched the way he gestured with the tongs, how he kept one foot resting on the edge of the deck, like he always did when he was holding court with a group. And meanwhile, Ryan's hand was still on my leg. Not moving now, just there. Still settled right against the lace edge of my stocking, his thumb gently brushing that soft, sensitive fabric like he was memorizing the texture. It wasn't sexual in some big dramatic way. It wasn't rushed or obscene, but it was intimate, intense, deliberate. That's what made it so hard to process. Because the whole time, I didn't take my eyes off my husband. That was what made it so surreal, so powerful, if I'm being completely honest, that I could be in that moment, so fully present in this quiet, hidden interaction with another man, and still be watching the person I've shared my life with for decades. And I wasn't disgusted with myself. I was delighted, not just because of the risk or the thrill, but because I was finally feeling something. I felt seen, desired, vibrant, and the fact that my husband was right there, still completely comfortable in his role, still assuming everything was as it always had been, that just made it even sharper. Not because I wanted to betray him, but because for once, I felt like my world was still moving, even if his wasn't. I know how that sounds. I know how people would judge me for it, but I don't care. Because in that exact moment, sitting on that wooden bench with Ryan's hand resting so confidently on my thigh, and my husband standing only a few steps away laughing about something he'd already told me 3 times before, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. I sat there, legs crossed tightly, glass of champagne trembling slightly in my hand, and just watched my husband smile, completely unaware. And I smiled too. Because he still loved me. He still saw me as his wife. But Ryan saw the woman underneath that. And I liked that more than I should have. His hand started to move again. Not fast, not even that far, just the slowest, smallest shift upward. His fingers pressing a little firmer, his thumb dragging slightly over the fabric, like he was testing how far I'd let this go. And truthfully, I didn't even have control anymore. I was locked in place. My body was warm all over. Not flushed in a dramatic way, just lit up, sensitive. Everything suddenly felt too loud. The chatter from the group, the clinking of ice in glasses, the faint music playing from the Bluetooth speaker. But also somehow too quiet, because all I could actually hear was my own breathing and the pounding of my heartbeat in my ears. The more his hand moved, the more I felt like I might actually collapse inward, like I was holding so much sensation in that I'd physically break if he went any further. It ended the same way it started. Quiet. Subtle. Like nothing happened. One moment his hand was on my leg, pressing gently into the lace of my stockings, my body on fire with tension and need, and the next my husband called his name from the grill. "Hey, Ryan, come help me flip these real quick." Ryan didn't even hesitate. He let go, stood up casually, and walked over like everything was normal. Like he hadn't just been touching me in a way no one else had in years. Like he hadn't just made my whole body react without a single word. He left me there on that bench, legs still crossed tightly, skin still buzzing, heart pounding so hard it felt like it had moved into my throat. I sat for a few minutes trying to get my breathing under control, finishing what was left in my champagne glass just so I had something to do with my hands. I looked over and saw the two of them standing together, laughing, flipping skewers, talking shop. No sign at all that 5 minutes earlier, Ryan's hand was nearly under my skirt. Eventually, we all sat down to eat. Someone lit the outdoor candles, a few people started opening more wine, and the table filled up with food. I took a plate like everyone else, scooped a little salad and chicken on it, but I didn't even touch it. I couldn't. I felt full in a way that had nothing to do with food, and I felt completely empty at the same time. My husband noticed. He leaned in and asked if I was okay. Said I looked pale. Asked if I needed to lie down. I told him I was fine, just a little tired. Maybe something I ate earlier. I forced a smile and brushed my hand on his shoulder as I stood up. I went inside, up to our room, and closed the door behind me. I didn't even bother taking off my heels at first. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, trying to sort out what I was even feeling. I didn't feel guilty, not really. But I felt unfinished, like my body had been building up to something and it had been snatched away at the last second. The tension, the desire, the heat, it was all still there, hanging in me with nowhere to go. I changed out of my clothes slowly, just going through the motions. Every part of me still remembered his hand. The pressure of it, the calm way he touched me, the control of it. My thighs still felt warm where he'd been, like the memory of his touch had settled into my skin. I'm 55. I've been married a long time. I've lived a steady, responsible life. I've done everything I was supposed to do. And yet that night, I couldn't stop thinking about a younger man sitting next to me at a barbecue, touching my leg while my husband stood 10 steps away. I got under the covers, curled on my side, and stared at the dark room. Everything was quiet again, too quiet. All I could think was, God, I wish Ryan was here.